Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Doug and we've got a little bit different video for you today. I had the chance to sit down with Tom Ripley, who is the chairman and CEO of the Lids Sports Group, and talk a little bit about the Lids business and fitted caps and the entire market in general. Now, in the past, I have been alternately very supportive of Lids because I think it's a great business, and I bought my first ever fitted cap at a Lids store, like many of you probably did as well. And then I've also been a little bit confused and frustrated sometimes and been a little critical in some of my videos as I've looked at what happened with the acquisition in 2019. So I was very excited to get to the opportunity to have Tom come on my channel and talk about some of those things. And 2020 has been a crazy year, so we talked a little bit about that and where Lids is headed in the future. So, I'll stop talking now and just present the interview, which has been edited for time, so it's not the entire thing, but I think you'll find a lot of great insight here. So stay tuned, here we go. I'd like to welcome Tom Ripley, who is the chairman and CEO of the Lids Sports Group.
Doug, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to thank you for reaching out and making this connection happen. It's great to have you. I'm very honored to have you and have a great discussion about caps today. 2020 has obviously been a very challenging year, and we've all had to weather the storm of COVID-19. Really, I'm just curious, how is Lids doing, and how have you been able to weather the storm?
Yeah, it's been nothing short of an incredible year. I think everyone would say on a personal level, on a professional level. Lids, I had ironically, we had our team town hall today, and I spoke about this exact experience. I'll never forget March 11th and March 17th. On March 11th, we entered the pandemic and officially, and the government started announcing the closures of malls. And as a mall-based retailer with 1,154 locations around North America, that's a pretty ominous sign. And within a couple of days, by the 17th, we had shut every store in the company. And by the 23rd of March, Lids had gone from 8,000 employees to 7. We had furloughed the entire company effectively. There were days when we didn't know that we were going to have a business. It was terrifying, frankly. I mean, we've got a wonderful team. On November 3rd of this year is our 25th anniversary. We're very lucky to have a great team, but it was really sobering there for about 60 days. But when Texas opened back up, we saw our first glimpse of hope. And by June, we had opened about 500 stores, and by the first week of September, we'd opened 1,000 stores. We have a handful of stores that are still closed in a couple of hot spots in the country, but that has been, it was really sobering and terrifying in the month of March, and frankly, emotional and joyful in the months of July and August, calling people back and reigniting the business. And so, to answer your ultimate question, how's Lids doing? We're doing great. We have better product, we're a healthier business, and we've made a real commitment to the fitted. And so that's really resulted in just a much healthier business across the board.
That is great to hear. I know that personally, and I'm probably speaking for a lot of my viewers, that the first time I ever bought a fitted cap, it was at Lids. And, there's some comfort I get whenever I travel with the family or whatever. And, it's always interesting to me to find a Lids wherever I'm going. And it's good to hear that you made it through and things are going all right. And that you've recovered pretty strongly, in fact. Some of the other things that I've seen going on with our fitted caps in general is that it seems that there's a real renaissance in fitted caps, and I've seen that through the pandemic. I've done some other videos about that. You mentioned there that you're getting more fitted caps in front of more people, and maybe you could tell me a little bit more about some of the things that you're doing in stores to amplify.
So we've seen two really big threads to pick up on there. One is, Lids is known as the home of the fitted. It's a trademark that we we're proud to carry, we're proud to own, and it's something that frankly we try to live up to. To give you an idea of our commitment to it, just of late, your sense of a trend is right on the mark. We have about 2 million fitted hats at Lids right now. We'll sell about 4.5 million fitted hats a year. We carry roughly 1,800 fitted hats in our stores every day, and 1,100 stores around North America. The fitted renaissance has really been something that's kind of taken root. I would say probably 18 months ago. Lids sells 28 million hats a year on an annual basis. A fitted hat is a very particular style hat. It's very difficult to sell online unless you've already bought that hat before and you know what you're looking for. It's a big financial commitment to carry those in our stores, but it's something that we're really putting a lot of resources in. We've made a couple other big investments this year. That's one of the biggest ones we've made.
That's great. I was just thinking about the other trends that are happening in the fitted market, and certainly we've seen some of the smaller vendors are attempting to have all sorts of fresh takes, whether it's a custom colorway of an existing MLB team, or sometimes it's just a ground up front cap design for a fictional team. As I look at Lids in sort of a response, what I'm seeing is a little bit more on the collaborative side. Is that really form Lids' creative response to this demand for customization and unique designs?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's frankly a really exciting topic for us. So the collaborative response is really a beachhead. That's step one, and what Lids is making as a multi-step approach to this. So I'll start first with that. Lids will spend about $1 million a year to put embroidery machines in every single one of our stores. So when we had a conversation the other day, one of the experiences you told me is the hat you're wearing was completed in a Lids. And what happens in that customization experience for us is each of our stores, some stores are better than others. It's true for all retail experiences, but some of our customization associates become artists. They become tattoo artists. They really take an incredible amount of pride in their customization capability. So we own those machines are not inexpensive. They're the price of a new car, and we're going to buy probably another couple hundred of them next year and upgrade the fleet. But there's one in every store, and so the ability to just individually customize your hat, your fitted hat, we'll probably do a couple thousand Dodgers hats in the Dodgers clubhouse on our customization machine, putting Seager's name and number on the hat, or Mookie's name and number on a hat, just because it's a way to make it unique. That's always been at Lids. The next step for us is the Meek Mills, the Chris Brickley. I'm sure you've seen. We have 4 or 5 others that are going to drop here in the next couple of weeks that are going to be really fantastic collaborations, where that artist is gonna modify a hat, take an existing product. Let's use as an example a Major League Baseball player that's internationally known we're gonna have a partnership with him. He's gonna modify a hat to a particular way. You'll be able to come and get a hat off the shelf and duplicate that, or we'll do a limited drop that might be signed or something along those lines. Those collaborations are great because I want to go back to a comment you made earlier, which is a really interesting one. When I talk to Melvin Gordon or Meek or others, you said in your comment earlier that when you travel around the country, you harken back to the very first fitted hat you bought. It's Melvin Gordon's first job, Meek Mill's first fitted hat. You go down the line, all at Lids. It's not a stretch to say that a shopping mall experience is incomplete without a Lids or a food court. And the truth is in some of the very best malls in the country, we're an iconic experience because as a child, it's one of those first things you remember getting. And so we take a lot of pride in that. We take a lot of pride in customizing it. And I think that you'll see us do a lot more of that over the next year. And I think, frankly, it's taken us a little while to get through the acquisition and that experience. We're just starting to hit our stride there, and we're really excited about it.
It also reminds me of something really changing the experience in the Lids store, because I have seen posts on Instagram about some of the newer stores that are opening. And, I think there's a sense out there of even me with 3 Lids stores within 12 miles of my house. It looks like a much cooler experience to actually go into the store. And I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit more and tell us a little
Yeah.
bit more about what you're doing with some of the actual store designs.
Yeah. So last week we announced and went out, flew out and opened our newest store, Pier 39, 7,000 square feet. You probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 unique items in the store. It's really an incredible experience. I was on a news channel out there. We had 10 different Steph Curry jerseys. All right. So to your point, we've tried to transform Lids slightly, and that is we're trying to make a deeper commitment specifically to fitted headwear for the hat head, we call them, that super fanatic, fitted headwear, hat wear, and then to jerseys. Specifically, the NBA fashion jerseys, some of the alt color ones or the blackouts. And so those have been fantastic. And so we call that store a 3.0 store. And when you go into those, it's going to be a little smaller. It's going to be 1,500 square feet. And they're a really fantastic experience, probably 15,000 items. You're going to have 1,600 fitted caps in different sizes in there. You're going to have fashion styles. You're going to have alternate color plays. We've talked about a throwback version of that, where if you walk in and the jersey selection are Earl Campbell and Herschel Walker and all the different throwback guys that you would think of, and so we're just trying to think through different ways to kind of touch different experiences. And that's something I think we're just starting to get up to speed on. We will transform. Last year, we had hoped before COVID, we'd hope to transform about 150 stores. I think we'll probably do 300 in next year. In addition to that, as I mentioned, we opened Pier 39. We'll probably open 25 stores this year. We'll probably open another 50 stores next year. At the same time, we'll close a handful, but Lids is constantly trying to find ways to improve our product, our customer experience, that level of engagement, and have really the best and most fashionable product in the marketplace.
That is actually fantastic to hear, and I can tell you personally, I can't wait to see a 3.0 store here in the 616. So
right on.
I'll look forward to that.
You got you and I will open it together. We'll come.
All right, right on. That sounds great. So the other thing is a lot of my viewers, of course, are very savvy, very involved in the fitted cap market. And they're all very perceptive of the split that we see between the Lids retail stores and lids.com and its connection to Fanatics. So, based on all the comments that I see on Instagram and things like this, and all the things that you're doing in the stores, what would you say to cap heads, as you mentioned, that sometimes get a little confused or frustrated when they see that they can only get certain caps in store?
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple answers. Before I answer that, I want to segue though. If you want to learn how to make your 5950 fit properly, go check out Doug's prior videos, because he does an unbelievable job. I've actually copied it and gone and followed a couple, got a hairdryer out, the steamer, and a couple. So you do a really nice job. Let me talk about that, because the Fanatics Lids relationship, and from my perspective, obviously I have a unique and probably pretty informed perspective. From my perspective, it is a best of both perspective. It is two of the very best people in their categories partnering to bring the best product to both marketplaces. So let me speak about that. So running a brick and mortar business is incredibly difficult. You could open up any newspaper in the country, frankly, any day of the week, and see just how hard it is. It takes a dedicated team, a very knowledgeable group. I'll give you an example. We have more than 50 stores in the New York City area. That takes a store manager, an assistant store manager, and an associate for every store. It takes a district manager. It takes a customization trainer. It takes a field auditor. There's a logistics tail that goes with that. It's a ground game. It's a heavy-duty ground game of associates are informed on the product. When a person like you walks into our store on Times Square, our associate needs to know the difference between a 5950, a 950, a dad cap, a cleanup. They have to know all the different types of lingos on hats so that they can help that customer from the least informed to the most informed. And so in order for Lids to do that, Lids had to make a decision. And it was, do we strive to be the very best brick and mortar retail experience, or do we try to do both? And Lids, frankly, before we acquired it, tried the best of both, and it struggled mightily. And the reason why we struggled is because the capital investment it takes to be a world-class online retailer is incredibly difficult. You have to have customers are trained today by Amazon to expect it in the right size, right color tomorrow. That's what Amazon has trained us all to enjoy. That's just not a realistic. Ask any retailer or think about any retail experience you're going through today. Where is that a realistic bar for a business to be able to run a brick and mortar business that's our size and be able to deliver an omni online experience of the same caliber? And the answer is you really can't. The Fanatics runs not only our website, but they run the NFL, the MLB, the NHL, the NBA, plus a couple hundred team sites. And they do that not because those organizations gifted it to Fanatics. They do it because Fanatics earned it. They run a phenomenal online experience. I'm sure, I hope that you and millions of other people got their Dodgers championship email this morning from lids.com. And that's because Fanatics is really the very best at it. Now, where we hear frustration is not on a Dodgers blue 5950 and a 7 5/8. That's the easy part. Where we hear the frustration is in the alt color Carhartt Dodgers hat, or the Meek Mill Dream Chasers drop, or the or any paper planes was on lids.com for 2 minutes. Right. And that's where people get frustrated because they feel like, well, I wanted to get it and I couldn't get it online. And I can appreciate that frustration. There's really two drivers to that. One is many times the artist, Meek as an example, requires that there be a limited release. Paper planes, Meek, don't want to have 100,000 Dream Chasers out there in red. They want it to be a limited drop. In order to partner with them, we have to agree to do that. There's nobody in America that wants to sell more of those hats than me. That said, wants them in a limited release. Paper Planes wants them in a limited release, and I want to respect that. And frankly, I want to be a good partner. We do that, but what we are going to try to do is not make it a one and done. And Meek's a great example. We did a blue version. We did a black on black. We just did a red drop. And we'll continue to modify and do those, throughout the course of the year. And they'll be released on lids.com, and they'll be released on in our stores, of course. But I don't know that I have a great answer for that customer other than we're trying to do our very best, and we're also trying to be great partners in those collaborations.
I actually think that you said a lot of things that maybe I hadn't thought about fully, and certainly there's a lot of merit to a design that you intentionally limit, because the point of those is not always to sell as many caps as possible, but it's to allow the creation to exist in kind of a coveted way, that people can really track that down and own something that's important to them. And thank you for your acknowledgement of my videos and techniques that I share, because I feel like many of my viewers also know that there's plenty of variation in New Era caps. And as such, there is no substitute for the in-store experience in terms of going in, if you're after a certain hat, having a stack of them there. I usually go 1/8 of a size up and 1/8 of a size down. And sometimes
look at two of the exact same size and decide, this one doesn't have that little pucker, little wrinkle. I want this one there. Right? It's the truth, right?
You got to find the right one, and when you're in the store, you can do it way easier
Yeah.
than ordering
I'll tell
online.
you the other thing that we did. I failed to mention earlier, but when you talk about our commitment to the fitted hat, we brought in 200,000. We spent several $1,000,000 to bring in blank fitted. So earlier this year, we launched Lids, customlids.com. There was a previous version. It was not very good. We relaunched it a couple of months ago. Spent a couple $1,000,000 buying blank hats. We bought 50,000 blank New Era hats, 50,000 5950 blank, because we want people to be able to say, I want this hat designed for my son's baseball team, and he wants to have a 5950 fitted hat. We have the ability, and we're one of the only people that have the ability to put your son's baseball team logo on the hat on a 5950 New Era hat. You wear the same on-field hat that the pros wear. If we're going to be home of the fitted, it takes that kind of commitment.
Yep, I agree. And the other thing that I was going to say is something that you've mentioned earlier is you have the ability with your retail footprint to sense what is more in demand in certain regions than others. I think you talked about a certain region of the country for some reason having a bent towards Toronto Blue Jays caps, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. West coast of Florida. West coast of Florida is Toronto Blue Jays and Green Bay Packers market. And I have no idea why, but that's why it is. So it's it's just crazy like that.
Yeah, and it is pretty remarkable because I've seen some of the IG posts about I think I've seen a map of the country and it shows the number one NFL
selling
team,
hat,
the number one selling hat per region. So with your large, broad retail footprint, you're in a really good spot to sense that and respond to it with what you put in front of people and customers. So that's always a good thing too. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I think the customization stations certainly, and everything else that you just mentioned with custom lids. I think that's a great way to offer the ability to personalize and get that kind of unique cap that users are looking for. So that's all.
Yeah, I would just echo a comment that we touched on something we talked about earlier. We're human beings just like everybody else, and we want to be the very best company we can. It's something that, frankly, there are 600 people in Indianapolis that spend every single day thinking about that. And so I would just ask, and Doug, frankly, you do a fantastic job of this. As your listeners reach out to you, and frankly, I'd extend the invite through you to them. If there's something that we're not doing that you want to see us do a better job of, the only way we're going to get better is if you tell us. This is part of the genesis of your and my relationship. And a phrase that I use around here a lot is, good is easy. To be great takes incredible strain. It takes a lot of effort. And we strive to be great. We want to be great. And so what I'd ask is reach out to us. Let us know. Let us know where we're falling short so that we can work on that. I'm not promising that we'll have the answers or that we'll be able to address everything, because there's the lists of needs are long. But we want to do, the only way we're going to have a chance of doing that is if we hear from you.
I've learned a lot in talking with you about the aspects of the business that you're trying to manage. And I think it's just great to continue to show that commitment to us people that get so engaged with fitted cap designs and hats overall. So that's great to hear, Tom. I really appreciate that. And I think many of my viewers do as well. That's awesome. So, well, you kind of just said it, but I was going to ask you if there's anything else you wanted to share, but I think that was probably a good encapsulation. So I'd probably look to wrap it up with probably the easiest question of all. And you're a hat guy, obviously. What is your favorite hat?
That's I have two. So I'm a diehard Packer fan. I sit number one in the NFC North. Not to bring up a sensitive subject, but you're right. The 616 happens to be in the NFC North, but I'm a diehard Packer fan. So, the sideline hat for the Packers this year is one of my favorites. It came out really well. I'm not an Eagles fan, but probably the one that ties strongest to my youth is the Buddy Ryan throwback Eagle hat that we did last year. It's one with the eagle wings spread apart, a white band across the front. And so those are two of my favorites. We got two coming out though this year that might make the lineup. We've got a baseball hat that's I think is going to be really neat. And then we have a country music collab that's coming up that I'm pretty excited about also.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Doug, we had talked about this before, but maybe take the opportunity later on this upcoming year to do a couple exclusive drops with you. That'd be fun.
That would be great. I'm looking forward to that. That would be fantastic, Tom.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot for the day. I appreciate it. If stay in touch, you've got all my info, and look forward to talking to you and speaking with your viewers.
Sure thing, Tom. And again, I wanted to say thank you once again for coming on the channel. I really appreciate the insight and the transparency and your commitment to caps and cap fans around the world.
Awesome. Well, as we say here, have fun, sell hats.
All right. Great. Thank you, Tom.
See ya.
So there you have it. And in the time that I had to think about while I was compiling the video and editing and things like that, I was really rather impressed with the transparency that Tom Ripley offered in coming on the channel and talking through some of those questions. I also think that it really is nice to still have a surviving kind of foundational place to get your fitted caps. And when I talked about having a store to go to, I mean, that really is the best way to get a fitted cap, is if you can get a hold of multiple sizes, multiple types, because we all know how much the caps vary, and having that great in-store experience close to you in your town, in your city, in your neighborhood, that's still really important. So I'm really happy that Lids has managed to survive. And it appears that they're emerging a little bit stronger, and as Tom said, maybe hitting their stride a little bit since the acquisition. So there's been some changes, to be sure, but I still think that Lids plays a very important role for us cap fans. I hope you got something out of that. Hope you enjoyed watching it. I'd like to do more of that in the future, so we'll see what we can do. But other than that, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.